Wow. I want to show something. This new ad from the Kamala Harris campaign is absolutely stunning. Cut 5.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
Unbelievable. I mean, this is misinformation, gang. This is propaganda. People, the average person does not know who she is. So they're finding now in polls that they are asking people, on the streets, hey, do you know who she is? Nope. I have no idea who she is. They don't know who she is. And so they're just filling this in with lies and propaganda. Now, why would Kamala Harris do this? She has been for the open borders. She's for the mass immigration. She's been tough on criminals. Are you kidding me? She helps pay for people to get out of jail during BLM. She is all for the no bail for criminals. You don't have to stay in jail. You're immediately released. You don't need bail. What's the problem? She's one of the leaders of redefining the police. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But she's from California. And what did California do yesterday? California Senate passed a contentious bill to allow undocumented immigrants to use the state's zero-down, zero-interest home loans program. With 23 votes for and 11 against, including all 9 Republicans, California's Dream for All shared appreciation loans. The program allows to secure loans up to $150,000 or 20% of the home's purchase price, or about what a typical down payment is. With zero down payment, this state loan, and 0 payments. In exchange, the state receives the original loan amount plus 20% of the appreciated gain when the home is refinanced, sold, or transferred. This is absolutely incredible. Now, why would you do this? Well, because you're trying to collapse the system. This is Cloward and Piven. There is no rhyme or reason we would do this for illegal aliens, and we wouldn't do this for our veterans. We don't do this for our poorest in the country. Why would you do it for illegal aliens? Have you seen what's going on around the country, around the world? German Chancellor, he's up for election. He's one of the guys who has just let everybody into Germany. He's now promising swifter deportations because he has an election coming up. And there was in a western city of Germany, there was a really bad stabbing, a mass stabbing in the city. And everybody's like, enough is enough. Enough is enough. So he promised swifter enforcement of deportation rules. Now, what does that mean? Well, the guy who did the mass stabbing, he was supposed to be deported long ago. Does any of this sound familiar, America? So he came out and he said, you know what? This is a real problem now, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Exactly what Kamala Harris is doing. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and you know what? Because crime is so bad right now, I'm not only going to have swifter enforcement of deportation, but I'm also going to put into that bill tougher weapons laws. Oh, well, you have a problem with stabbings. So are you now going to ban knives? What exactly are you going to do, Chancellor? So he, of course, was very, very moved by what he called very moving accounts of emergency service workers who tended the victims. And he was furious, and he would not let this tear apart the German society. This is terrorism. And it's threatening all of our lives, our coexistence, and our way of life. That is also what the people who plan and carry out such attacks always intended, and it is something we will never accept. We're going to coexist. Well, you cannot coexist with people that don't want to coexist with you. Now, Harris has flip-flopped on the border. She is coming out now, but she's flip-flopped on everything. Okay? Apparently, because she's not answering any questions yet, she does not support electric car mandates anymore. She has backed these for a decade. She has been for open borders for a decade. And she's now against them? Why? What changed in you? Senate Democrats are now virtually certain to pass a Supreme Court reform. This, according to Sheldon Whitehouse, he's a senator. This is unbelievable. They're planning a package and stopping the filibuster and then passing a bill that includes permanent reproductive rights, permanent restored voting rights, getting rid of corrupting billionaire dark money, and Supreme Court reform, all in one bill as soon as they're reelected. How? Why? Why would you do this in California? You don't care. It doesn't matter if Harris gets in or not. They'll burn the frickin' country down. And if you pay attention, please pay attention to what is happening in Europe and in England, because it's the same thing. They're just a little ahead of us. We cannot have another radical president. And not that Joe Biden was radical. He wasn't doing anything. You hired the machine. When you voted for Joe Biden, you didn't vote for him as president or her as vice president. You had two willing puppets that I don't know who is calling the shots, but it is not Joe Biden. How is it that he is so out of control, he doesn't know his own name practically, and yet everything in the country is running on schedule? How's that possible? Why does nobody want to invoke the 25th Amendment? So Harris was asked by volunteers, campaign volunteers, can you give us any policy details to share with voters? No. They have been rebuffed. The people trying to tell people what she stands for, they can't get anything from her or the campaign on what she stands for. Now, maybe she's going to talk about it on Thursday. She's done her first interview. She's very excited about it. It's going to be a pre-tape. It'll happen tomorrow. And you know what's really great is she's such a team that she's going to have Tim Walz with her, you know. And that's not a man that could be there to talk for the little woman. No. She's not afraid of that. She wants to build up Tim Walz. Really? Methinks that you were trying to get somebody else to eat up at least half the airtime and be able to joke with you. Well, that's not, come on, that's not what we really mean. Oh, no, that's not what we meant. No, you're right. It is crazy. If this woman, I know a lot of people think that Donald Trump is not standing for abortion, and I get it. It bothers me. Do you know what happens to the pro-life movement if she's elected? Do you have any idea? It's over. It is over. I have a guest on today. She's 89 years old. She was in a Russian prison camp. She never thought she would see it in the United States. Well, she's in prison. Why? Because she was praying. She's 89 years old. She told the producer, I'm very nervous because I'm older and sometimes I forget my words. And our producer said, don't worry, Glenn will be very kind and gentle with you. Don't worry. She's like, okay, I'm just very nervous. I don't want to. We wouldn't allow anyone to prosecute the president of the United States for crimes because he was a sweet old man that sometimes got confused. But we'll put her in jail for praying. Do you have any idea what happens to pro-life if Kamala Harris wins? Don't talk to me about Donald Trump. Talk to me about what the alternative is here. By the way, they care so deeply about you. It was the Harris-Biden administration that actually stopped the imports of baby formula when we were having a baby formula shortage. Do you know why? Well, some of the big dairy producers will have problems with it because we've got to put on hold some of those tariffs. Really? Really? You were more afraid of Big Cow than you were of the American people who are driving all over the state trying to find any baby formula? That was your priority. Yeah. That's their priority. I'm sorry, I hate coming on and just yelling at you. I hate those shows like this one is from time to time that just come out and yell at you because you know, you're just as frustrated as I am. But we have all got to get this out to every friend and neighbor. You have to put this stuff out. All of the stuff that I just talked about is in our daily newsletter. It's free. Take those stories and send them to everyone you know. They have to know this. And the media is not going to do it. It's really up to you. And I want you to know. Let me give you some hope in that. Oh, it's up to me. Okay, well, I've got enough to do. Yeah, but all you have to do is your share, and you will do more than your share by doing your share. I'm up here in the Mountain West, and so I'm learning all about animals and horses and everything else. And draft horses. A strong draft horse can pull 8,000 pounds. Now, how much can 2 draft horses pull? You would think maybe 1,600 pounds. No. When 2 of them get together, they can pull between 20,000 and 24,000 pounds. What? You can get draft horses if I think it's if you have 3, it goes up into like 35,000 pounds. They pull more than their weight by themselves. When you put them together, if you have 2 draft horses that are in sync, that have been taught together, okay, and so they work together and they're in sync, one can pull 8,000 pounds, 2 can pull about 22,000 pounds, and if they can work together, if they were taught together, they pull about 30,000 pounds. We think alike. We have to work together. We can get this done. But in Pennsylvania, they start voting in 2 weeks. How many people know these things about Kamala Harris? There's a reason she's not giving an interview, and now she's not giving one alone. But let me tell you who her running mate is. Oh, you think you know? Oh, well, I'm very, very excited for Tim Walz because he is just the other side of the Oreo cookie, and socialism is the white stuff in between. Effective in Minnesota, July 2025, teaching licensing rules passed last year in Minnesota under Tim Walz will ban practicing Christians, Jews, and Muslims from teaching in public schools. That is, if they believe it. You know, if you're a Christian and you don't really believe it, you're just like, yeah, I'm a Christian, I guess. Then you don't have a problem. This is a guy who is, as a high school social studies teacher, sponsored a student queer sex club in 1999. So he was a pioneer in this field. Starting next July, Minnesota agencies controlled by Walz appointees will require teacher license applicants to affirm transgenderism and race Marxism. If you don't, you cannot get a teaching license. You cannot work in Minnesota public schools, nor in private schools, where you also have to have a license. The latest version of the regulations require teachers to affirm students' gender identity and sexual orientation to receive a teacher's license. The teacher fosters an environment that ensures student identifies such as race, ethnicity, national origin, language, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, physical, developmental, emotional ability, socioeconomic class, and religious beliefs are historically and socially contextualized, affirmed, and incorporated into a learning environment where students are empowered. Okay, so last spring, administrative law judges in Minnesota approved these changes. The Federalist reported 1 month before they were finalized, universities will be affected starting in 2025. They have to train their teaching students to fulfill these anti-Christian requirements or be banned from offering state licensing. So, if you want to be a teacher in Minnesota, you must toe the line. Now, here's the disappointing part of this. Some Christian universities in the state will obey these regulations. Of course. Yeah, you hear the Jews in the trains going by, just sing louder. Some Christian universities will not. But so far, the Christian universities that the press has reached out to plan on disobeying these state commands to violate their faith, would do so quietly, and only sue when the state fines and punishes them. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I think that's what Jesus taught. I think that's what he taught. I think that's what he meant when, he was talking and saying, whoever confesses me before men, I will also confess before the Father. Whoever denies me before men, I'm going to deny him too. So I think that's what he was talking about. Only confess him, once you're caught. Once you're caught, then you're like, whoa. If Christians do not stand up now, it is only going to get harder. If you don't stand up now for life, and even if Donald Trump says one thing, you know what Harris will do. She's the first vice president or president to ever go to an abortion clinic. She loves death. If Christians do not stand up now, you will repeat. You will repeat the past. I refuse to do that. Join me. Come on, draft horse. Join me. Pull your weight, and together we pull much more than our weight.